just talk about the whole issue of masks, because it's become such a kind of symbol of the craziness. I'd love to hear your data analysis on masks.
Well, as you noted, there's nothing new under the sun. This is something that they struggled with in the 1918 pandemic. In fact, there's this great headline that said the other day was masks are the greatest friend of the disease, right? And it went through and talked about it. Well, that was written in 1918 in a Santa Barbara newspaper. Again and again, we see that masks basically become a political tool because it's very tangible, right? And what politicians like is something that they can control, which is, oh, cases are going up. You're not masking hard enough. And cases are going down. Thank you for masking, right? The data out there on masks is mixed at best and awful at on reality's face. So when we look at it, a cloth mask, because the micronic size of the viral particle will just slip right through most anything there, okay? Especially our initial thoughts were, well, most of the sort of spittle and the stuff that comes out with us is what's causing the transmission. Well, the numbers just don't support that. And we knew early on, I believe even as late as early as May of last year, that aerosolization was probably the root transmission of this, right? And so those cloth masks are not going to do anything. The stat I usually have is that within seconds, you have 60 to 90% penetration of cloth masks, of anything that goes in and out. And again, the idea was that masks were never intended to protect you as aware. They were intended to protect someone else. But they don't do a terribly good job at that, especially in an aerosolized pathogen that SARS-CoV-2 seems to be. So the data that we have, for example, there was a very large front page of the opinion piece article from the New York Times that said, masks worked, with a big trophy ahead of it. And it was based on a study out of Bangladesh. It was a really interesting approach, which is they took a bunch of villages, about 350,000 people in those coercive villages. They split them in half, and they said, all right, half of you we're not going to do anything with, and half of you we're going to put in surgical masks, right? And so they did tests. And
they're the paper ones. When people say surgical masks, they're the
right,
sort of
the paper ones that you see, right?
The little blue
yeah,
paper
the cheap ones
yeah.
that you get there, too. So they had that. They had education for that group about social distancing or whatnot. So they came out about 340,000 people. They came out to about 1,500 cases in each, and the difference was 20 cases. So they didn't release those numbers at the outset.
But they didn't. Yeah, they didn't release those numbers in the beginning.
Yeah, at the outset they just basically
those numbers just came out.
They used it basically as a background thing to say, it reduced for 50-year-olds that were wearing masks. It reduced them by 33%. It was a bunch of nonsense. They got caught red-handed once they released the data. And we see that again and again, is that the people are just grasping at straws to find anything that works.